Good morning, children. We'll begin this morning's class with chapter 3 of your statistics book on page 22. Now, children, we are going to do a part of this chapter from the book. Certain parts I will be doing directly on the board, which has numericals and definitions. Also, please keep a statistics copy of yours with your pen ready at hand. When I would be giving you certain notes, you must take down those notes. Okay? So, part of it we are doing from the book, and I'll tell you where we are doing what. Okay? And so, please take page 22, chapter number 3. Organization of data. Introduction. In the previous chapters, you have learned about how data is collected. Yes? You also came to know the difference between the census and sampling. In this chapter, you will know how the data that you collected are to be classified. The purpose of classifying data or raw data is to bring order in them so that they can be subjected to further statistical analysis easily. What he says, when data is collected, they have to be put in some order, they have to be classified to bring about some order so that from that we can deduct or deduce or get certain analysis easily. Have you ever observed your local junk dealer or the kabadi wala to whom you sell your old newspapers, broken household items, empty glass bottles, plastics, etc.? He purchases these things from you and sells them to those who recycle them. But with so much junk in his shop, it would be very difficult for him to manage his trade if he had not organized them properly. So, to ease his situation, he suitably groups or classifies the various junk. He'll put old newspapers together and tie them up with a rope. Then he collects all the empty glass bottles in a sack. He heaps the articles of metals in one corner of his shop and sorts them into some groups like iron, copper, aluminium, brass, etc., and so on. In this way, he groups his junk into different classes: newspapers, plastics, glass, metals, etc., and brings an order in them. Once his junk is arranged and classified, it becomes easier for him to find a particular item that a buyer may demand. So you see, if all these things were lying in his shop as one big heap, then this kabadi wala would find very, very difficult if somebody comes and say, can you have this in brass item? Now you'll have to search through the whole pile. So what he does is beforehand only, he groups all his kabadi or his articles which he has collected into various categories and keeps them so that if anyone comes at any point of time, he knows which place to go, where to go, to which pile to go, and things become very easy for him to handle his shop. Likewise, in the same way, when you arrange your school books in a certain order, it becomes easier for you to handle them. You may classify them according to subjects, where each subject becomes a group or a class. So when you need a particular book on history, for instance, all you need to do is to search that book in the group history. Otherwise, you would have to search through your entire collection to find that particular book which you are looking for. Now, this will be another good example to give of the library. I'm sure most of you have visited the school library. Now, when you need a certain books, they are all in different shelves, different cupboards, under different headings. So that makes finding a particular book easy. You want a study book under, let's say, English, you would go to the English section and search for your book there. You want a book, let's say, in economics, you go to the economics section and search for your book there. You want a story book, a fiction, you go to the fiction section. You want mysteries, you want adventures. They are all classified differently in different shelves, in different cupboards. The main idea of this is to make things easy to identify when required. While classification of objects or things saves our valuable time and effort, it is not done in an arbitrary manner. Arbitrary manner means anyhow. No. The Kabadiwala groups is junk according to the markets for reused goods. For example, under the group of glass, he would put empty bottles, broken mirrors, and window panes, etc. Similarly, when you classify your history books under the group history, you would not put a book of a different subject in that group. Otherwise, the entire purpose of grouping would be lost. So classification, therefore, is arranging or organizing things into groups or classes based on some criteria. You must underline these lines. What is classification? Classification is arranging or organizing things into groups or classes based on some criteria. Raw data. Like the Kabadiwala junk, the unclassified data or the raw data are highly disorganized. They are often very large and cumbersome to handle. Cumbersome means difficult, difficult to handle. To draw meaningful conclusions from them is a tedious task. Tedious means a tiring, troublesome, tedious task because they do not yield. Yield means give to statistical methods easily. Therefore, proper organization and presentation of such data is needed before any systematic statistical analysis is to be taken. So here it simply means before we go to solve anything statistically, they must be arranged in a proper manner. A manner has to be followed, a type of placing the things together, the values together should be followed. So hence proper organization and presentation of such data is needed before any systematic statistical analysis is taken. Hence, after collection or collecting data, the next step is to organize and present them in a classified form. So the first step was go and collect all your raw data, get data from everyone. That is in the raw form. It is in an unorganized form. Then what do we do with this unorganized data? We will organize them into some classes, some groups, or we will classify them according to what we are set out to do. What are we set out to do means what are we to do with the data? Why did we collect the data? We must have an idea why we collected the data. So what are we to be done with this data? So we classify them. So that is the second step. Now suppose you want to know the performance of students in mathematics and you have collected the data on marks in mathematics of 100 students of your school. If you present them in a table, they may appear something like this. So have a good look at table 3.1. Can you see any order in that table? No. Just you ask people at random, you just kept asking what's your marks in math, they kept saying, kept on noting them down. And you counted and you got 100. Now does it make any sense to you? Table 3.1, can you understand anything of it? No, because this is in a very disorganized. It is the raw data. Then you could have collected data on the monthly expenditure on food of 50 households in your neighborhood to know their average expenditure on food. The data collected in that case, had you presented as a table, would have resembled table 3.2. Both tables 3.1 and 3.2 are raw or unclassified data, and in both the tables you will find that the numbers are not arranged in any order. Now if you are asked for the highest marks in mathematics from table 3.1, then you would have to first arrange the marks of the 100 students either in an ascending or a descending order. And then this is a tedious task, difficult task. It becomes more tedious if instead of 100 you have marks of, let's say, 1000 students to handle. Now similarly in table 3.2 you would note that it is difficult for you to ascertain the average monthly expenditure of 50 households, and this difficulty will go up many-fold, many times if the number was large. So what is he trying to make us understand here? Data collection is easy. You go out and collect data in the form of a raw data, unorganized data. But that raw data or unorganized data is of no use to anyone, because if certain questions were asked from that, then you would have to go and search out. Like he gave you the example of what is the highest marks in mathematics. Now, if you were given a list of 100 students like that, you would have to go from top to bottom with a pencil in your hand and see, okay, this is 60, okay, more than 60, 70, 80, 90, 95, 98, 99, and then you come across 100, you say, okay, 100 is the height. Now you got to go through the entire list, isn't it? So it would be better once you get raw data which is unorganized, we must classify the data in some order which makes sense, which can give us results immediately when we require. So this happens with 100 students, he says. Suppose you were told the marks of 1000, becomes more difficult. Suppose you were given marks of 5000 students, it would become still more tedious. So he says the difficulty will go up many times if the number was large, as let's say 5000 households, like our kabadiwala, who would be distressed to find a particular item when his junk becomes large and disarranged. You would face a similar situation when you try to get any information from the raw data that are large. In one word, therefore, it is a tedious task to pull information from large, unclassified data. It is not an easy method or easy thing to go about to pull out information from a very large, unorganized, unclassified data. The raw data are summarized and made comprehensible. Comprehensible means something which we can understand, we can understand why they are there in a particular order. Comprehensibly by classification. When facts of similar characteristics are placed in the same class, it enables one to locate them easily, make comparisons, and draw inferences without any difficulty. You have studied in chapter 2 that the government of India conducts census of population every 10 years. About 20 crore persons were contacted in the census of 2001. The raw data of census are so large and fragmented that it appears an almost impossible task to draw any meaningful conclusion from them. But when the same data is classified according to gender, education, marital status, occupation, etc., the structure and the nature of population of India is then easily understood. So what he says here is, from the huge amount of data collected, especially during a census, where the entire population, let's say, of the country has to be counted, it would be an impossible, tedious, mammoth task to handle this data if we do not place them according to certain classification. And how can we classify such a huge data? We can say, okay, all those who are male, we'll put them together, females together. Then according to gender, according to education, those who are undergraduates, let's say, then graduates, postgraduates, doctorates, they could be classified accordingly. Marital status, whether married or not married. Occupation, how many are into business, how many are into services, how many are into defenses, how many are into government services. These are the different classifications you could do. Okay, so the structure and the nature of population in India is then easily understood. Then from this huge amount, how many percent or what percent of the Indian population, let's say, is educated, we can refer to our education where we have classified them, and then get a figure that this percentage of people in India are educated. Educated how much? Undergraduate, we still have a figure. Graduate, we will have a figure. Graduate, we would have a figure, and so on. So you see, classification on any particular basis makes the raw data easily handleable. We can handle these data in a very easy manner. The raw data consists of observations on variables. The raw data as given in table 3.1 and 3.2 consists of observations on a specific or a group of variables. Now look at table 3.1 for instance, which contains the marks in mathematics scored by 100 students. How can we make sense of these marks? The mathematics teacher looking at these marks would be thinking, how have my students done? How many have not passed? How we classify the data depends upon the purpose we have in mind. Like I told you earlier also, how we deal with this raw data. What is the purpose, number one, of collecting this data? That helps us to classify the data. How we classify the data depends upon the purpose we have in mind, and in this case, the teacher wishes to understand in some depth how many students have, how well the students have done. She would probably choose to construct a frequency distribution, and this will be discussed in the next section. Now we have about 3 minutes remaining. Okay, so we will stop till here for today and continue the class tomorrow. Okay.